My name is Liliana Rojas-Suarez. I'm a senior fellow at the Center for Global Development. The book, Growing Pains in Latin America, is all about how to accelerate economic growth in Latin America. The question, of course, is not new, and there is plenty of research about that question, but the novelty is in the approach that we take in the book. A framework is being built taking into account what is truly particular about the region. And there are three features of Latin America that distinguish this part of the world from all other developing regions. First is the most financially open. That means that there are little controls or impediments to the flow of international capital. And the reason why Latin America has chosen this path is because the domestic savings rate are very low. The second feature is that Latin America is the most democratic region among developing countries. And the third region is that is the most unequal, both in terms of social indicators and in terms of economic indicators. Well, when you have a very open economy that is very democratic and very unequal at the same time, policymakers have a major challenge. Because if it's very open to the international capital markets, you have to follow market-led policies. But if it's very democratic and very unequal, you're going to have a large number of voters that are going to demand being incorporated into this market economy. Well, there is frustration in Latin America in that many of the reforms being undertaken and the growth that has been achieved in Latin America have not permeated to large segments of the population. So the book, Growing Pains in Latin America, basically using this framework applies it to 5 countries in the region: Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, Mexico, and Peru. And based on this framework, provides recommendations that are practical, that are doable, but at the same time takes into account the particular features of Latin America. Among the recommendations that you are going to see in the book, there are some coincidences across countries. For example, because of the inequality and the desire to participate in the market process, reforms cannot be done top-down. They have to come from a consensus between government, civil servants, the population in general. That means that reforms need to go one step at a time, little by little, as opposed to an overhaul of the whole system. In the book, you're also going to find that there are many recommendations about how the process for getting governments elected need to be modified, how the judicial systems need to become more efficient, how certain parts of the education, including education of the civil servants, need to be changed, need to be improved, and there is a number of recommendations that deal with other areas of the social system. To sum up, if a lesson comes from reading the book, is that among all the differences between countries, the characteristics between these countries in the context of Latin America call for policy that imply representation from the population. The region has done quite well in the context of the current crisis, actually remarkably well and beyond expectations. It has been decades since Latin America has not succumbed to the bad news coming from the international capital markets. In the past, in the 80s and in the 90s, very bad news coming from industrial countries would imply collapses in the region. That has not happened now. So reform have paid off, but the future for accelerating growth on a sustainable and equitable basis is still a big challenge for the region.